I think we have time for at least a round of questions and discussions. I will start with Mr. Dress, asking what is your expectation from the state in order to invest in this purpose of offshore wind and diversify your activities that they are already there and running?
Thank you for the question. As it was mentioned in the first section of this event and also of other speakers, I think the involvement of the state should be, must be very active. I mean, they have first to recognize, as it was stated, that in order to proceed to eventually to low-cost construction and operation of these fields, you need funding in the beginning and support, and stable rules that you can follow for the first years. And this is not only for the Greek state, I dare to say, but also for the policymakers of Europe, for example, because there is a paradox. As Europeans, we want to adopt green energy, but if we don't do as Europe what is needed, then what will succeed? Ordering something outside of Europe, where the production, for example, will be without following European rules for saving energy or green energy. It will be only transfer of funding, of funds, from Europe to somewhere else. And this will not help. So I believe that we have to see this as a whole. We have the transition to green energy, and this involves many stakeholders. So all these stakeholders need to realize their position and the actions that they have to take and the support. And we expect all of them to see it in the near future, because we have already been working on for the green transition and for the offshore wind farms.
Yeah. So the specifications that you saw today, do they put any fear on you regarding the facilities? And
no, they don't put any fear, because we, as I said, it is our involvement in such projects was in, and it is in our plans, and we want to be ready. So we already started making simulations using generic data first, and then more real data, and in order for us to understand, as it was presented, what will be our building strategy in the beginning, what we have to change, and on what we have to invest in order to facilitate everything that is needed. So I believe that we're ready. We have already some discussions, and not only discussions, with key players in this field from all levels. So everything that we see here is very helpful for us to be able to undertake such tasks.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, please.
I would like to add that I think that we have to think globally. We have one air on this planet, and it's not 5 minutes to 12, it's 2 seconds to 12. If I look at either we have flood or we have fires in Greece, in Sicilia, in Spain, the cost of climate change will be billions as well, so we might as well focus on renewable energy that helps rescuing the planet. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Wolfgang. Let me ask Mr. Lykomitos. He already presented that they are doing a lot, much more than I was expecting. What is next for you? I mean, can you cope with the size of these 15 megawatt turbines and the demands that they are putting?
Look, the main point that we have a disadvantage in comparison with the shipyards, it is that we are renting area. As you know already, Volosport is already sold 67%. It's already in procedure, and we are in discussions because we have been announced that we are going to have a new investment in the field directly in order to have the possibility to make these oversized components. Because as you saw, up to 10 meter diameters of components or 80 meter lengths or 600 tons, that is already, if we heard it before 3-4 years to Greece, we will say that it will not be possible. We saw that this has been possible in the last 3 years. So we're expecting in the next years, we already have a new facility. We have already invested since the last 3 months more than 15 million in more automation of our equipment in order, as he previously said, it is the key point. First of all, there is so big demand, and they are not, in all of Europe, it cannot be fabricated. For sure, what he mentioned, it is a problem, because it cannot compare our prices with China or importing monopiles or all of the components, because we are losing daily projects that they are importing from there because they have difference in the cost. But when it's stabilized, which floater is going to be expanded, and this is when it have a serial production, because already in Norway, they are making an installation of an automation for the jackets, a full automation line. It's going to be on April of 2024. This is how it's going to be grown up, and not only have the possibility that each one can fabricate 5 to 10 per year. We must find a way how it can be maximized to 20, 30, 50 per year in order to reach to the capacity that's needed.
That's true. The fact that we don't have a prevailing floater design today, compared to the monopiles or whatever, is a drawback. That's for sure. What is your feeling about this demo projects for floating wind that it was announced in the morning by the minister?
It is the first step. We are already discussing, it has been delayed, the license and all of this. All of this that's coming today, it is the first, the key point. Most of them, or some of them, we have seen each other on offshore exhibitions in Bilbao, in Copenhagen, in Hamburg, but we are here. This is the key start, to do the first step, and not to only see what can be done to the future, to start from now for doing it on the future.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Mr. Wandel, you have the experience from abroad. We're just starting now this adventure with offshore wind. What would you recommend us to do? What would be the proper next steps for us?
As mentioned before, you just said, I think to get started, to have the first project, it doesn't matter if it is our design or somebody else, but build one, learn it, find out to which degree the assumptions are right. You are currently showing this Volturnus from Maine, which is a model that is maybe 10 years old, that has 2 different types of ballast. Yeah. We and others of our competitors, we're no longer using ballast, right? So I totally agree with you. Let's get started, get the first 100 megawatt on 2-3 locations, and then go from there to 250 and to 500 in the next 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that we are close to a prevailing floater design?
Yes.
Yes, it's yours. It's obviously yours. Huh?
On that note, I have a present for you. This is our floater.
Okay.
I have one for you as well. This is the floater. Sorry for that.
That's interesting. He presented the figure earlier, so this is the big achievement today. Yeah. Okay. And what about standardization?
On a serious note,
yeah.
I think there will be, on concrete, just to put it in perspective what you said in your presentation, you said concrete is a little bit more on weight. I think it's about 15 to 18,000 tons more.
Yeah.
Equinor has a spar construction that has more reinforcement steel inside than our steel floater weighs in total. It's a different steel, more recycled, fair enough. The problem is that it's so deep that if you have a problem, which now became obvious in Scotland, you have to tow it from Scotland to Norway to repair it. So that doesn't work in Greece. I think for Greece, steel definitely should be the solution, and a modularized system that has low draft, so that there was not many harbors that had more than 12 meters, right? That dredging cost is massive, so if you find a design that accommodates that, there are 2, 3 out there that can do that.
Okay, thank you.
And one more recommendation, not to us, but to the turbine manufacturers. You said that we talk about exhibitions in Bilbao and Hamburg and Copenhagen. I heard my wife say the only ones who make money are the organizers of these exhibitions and the companies that are recycling the blades. So that has to stop, and we have to make sure that everybody in the whole chain makes a little bit of money so that we make sure we survive.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kastanidis, I think we saw this kind of a survey for the first time, covering nearly all the chains or most of the chains of the support structure. What is next for you? I mean, how could you continue this work? What would be the next step if you could continue this work?
Well, we could focus on the readiness of the supply chain, on the pilot farms that were mentioned earlier by the ministry. I think this would be a good next exercise to see what would be the pilot scale and what the industry's thoughts would be on that.
Okay, so my understanding is that you see that our main limitations are about the ports, not about the fabrication of the floaters or...
It is mainly about ports, but not only. For instance, people from industry mentioned themselves that we need to come down to a standard design, standard dimensions, because we cannot keep upscaling and upscaling and upscaling, or we cannot keep waiting for the final design so that we can then invest in infrastructure. So the main problems in all sectors of the supply chain, not just the ports. But there are infrastructure problems with the ports because they have limited space. Many of them have just been privatized or are going to be privatized, which means that for many years they did not have substantial investment for infrastructure. So this is something that they need to catch up now. And of course, if a port already has enough revenue from coastal shipping or cruise or maybe containers, maybe they will think, okay, I don't need to bother with all this. Even if they would initially say, okay, we're positive in going into this business.
Yeah. I don't really see the problem of upscaling. I mean, okay, we are now talking for 15 megawatts, which are going to come. I mean, now we are in an early stage of that. And for the time horizon that we are talking about, maybe we go to 20. I don't know if we can upscale further from that. And from 15 to 20, size-wise, it's something like less than 15% more in length, and of course in weight it goes with the cube. So I don't share this concern about upscaling, and it's going to be a huge problem.
It was a question of ours because we asked why is it such a big issue if we go from 15 to 18, but the reply was that if you go from equipment that can manufacture components that are like 30 meters long to 35 or 40, then you might end up doubling the necessary investment.
Yes. Okay. You want a word on that?
I'm just thinking on the sizing of the turbines. One of the biggest problems, I think, is that the turbine manufacturers also need to make money. Yeah. And by changing every time and going from 15 to 18 to 20, we did a study now for California, 25.5. suddenly the airports are a problem because they are so tall that during assembly the planes cannot take off, right? So they need to make sure that they make money on a given set until they are ready to jump. And unfortunately, the pressure from China is there.
Yeah, but they don't do it. It's a marketing hype. I mean, everybody wants to have a little bit bigger turbine than the others. Yeah. And I go to Spiros. We share a lot of common, say, history. Okay. And it was always a question, how can this research and engineering part of the supply chain, the Greek one, which is pretty advanced, how this could be engaged into the whole say, system. We tried in the past several things. I mean, we were running research projects, especially for Greece, the last 15 years at least. More than that. What we never managed to have is a demonstration project.
Right.
And for a smaller turbine, offshore, of course. So I would like to hear your views about how we can manage to get involved into this supply chain, not just work on foreign designs and so on, not just manufacturing, but also designing.
Right. Well, that was also the basic initiative of building this competence center anyway, and TUA did that for that kind of reason. Now, specifically for what we are talking today, offshore wind, it is a question of decision whether we would like to have this industry being developed with a positive participation of Greece, of the country, which is a benefit not only for the country itself, but worldwide. Now, it is important both because there are not such many demonstration programs in the Mediterranean. It is one thing that we can propose to our authorities, and perhaps in a wider environment, that we have a demonstrator project with a floating wind turbine, so we can see what are the particularities that may appear in the Mediterranean Sea compared to the North Sea. What are, for example, you mentioned that concrete is not such a good idea, but of course you have the idea of your experience in Norway, which is a different context, and also we must take into account that this area in the Mediterranean has a strong involvement in that kind of technology and manufacturing and so on. And also it may appear that there can be designs that are not so deep, and that because we have lower waves here, everything can match. And so this we can do only if there is a demonstration program. And already the minister has mentioned this pilot projects for offshore that he will announce. But of course, we can build a very strong group in Greece so that together with collaborations from abroad to build such a demonstrator. That would be for the benefit of the whole community. It's not a question of national scale. It's a question of European scale. That is what it's, we have to propose it widely and we have to promote it. And at least as regards the design capabilities, it is clear that we have all of the capabilities in designing, in calculating, in doing all of that. We have done it so many times at different levels within Europe. So the know-how is there. It is just to persuade the authorities that it is a good idea to come up with an alliance for building a demonstration project open to all of the parties that will participate. That is my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Spiros. So we can open up the discussion with the audience. If somebody wants to ask something to our panel, please do so. Yes. Do you have any microphones? gentleman over there.
Good afternoon. Saverio Ventrelli from Siemens Energy in Norway. Just a question or a consideration. I've been listening carefully to what you have presented, what you have said. A lot of very good discussions and right things. I'm missing one big part in all the discussion. Everyone is talking about a wind turbine, a floater, a mooring. No one is talking about all the electrical connections. Where is this?
Yeah.
Everyone is saying it's simple, it's simple, it's simple. Then we do 100, then we do 250, when we do 500, 1 gigawatt. Floating, do you have any barely idea of what are the challenges about this? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I will take the question on that. I think that we don't have somebody from the cables here, from the electrical part, because this is the area that we are most advanced compared to all the others. So there are Greek, as Greece, yes. We have very strong companies producing cables here, including cables for offshore wind, including dynamic cables that they are exporting abroad. If the question was about the cables themselves, if the question is about the electrical space that we need and the interconnections, substations, okay.
I'm talking about telecommunication, talking about automation, about cybersecurity, about remote operation centers.
Yeah,
This is what I'm talking
I think
about.
that we are not that progressed to address this kind of things today.
He can sit here.
Later. Okay, so there will be something later. Yeah. By your company.
You know, I was missing this also in the study of the value chain, because has been done a very good job. What you have done is incredibly good. But I was missing also all the electrical part and how to integrate the electrical with the mechanical, with the floater and the construction, and how you make it working.
Yeah.
Because this is also an important part for the supply chain. If you go to ask for a transformer per today, and you ask for a 500 megawatt transformer, just one piece of that, most probably you will get lost answer from a producer. Apart if you are not Equinor, or you are not Shell, or you are not something very big. So this is to be taken into account when we talk about how to upscale and how to standardize. Wolfgang was very much into that, the standardization. And I think that is really the key of doing things and analyzing how to do it in such a way that you can continue to progress and to do it in a good way, and that you can speed up and not only waiting every time for R&D that will take 2-3 years every time you jump from one size to the other. So that's important.
Okay, thank you very much. We know that. Any other? Victoria.
Hello, my name is Victoria Alexandratou. I am in the wind business since 1997. I also tried to establish a prototype project in Greece 10 years ago with Equinor. At the time, it was Statoil. With Arne, poor guy, he blamed me to be incompetent, maybe a woman in the wrong place, the wrong time, whatever. It didn't happen. So it was many components, it has to come together. I don't want to give a speech, I have a question. What is the break-even point today of an average offshore wind park in Northern Europe? Wolfgang.
Can you repeat the question? Average?
Average, let's say one of the wind parks is in Scotland.
Yes.
Equinor established 30 megawatts in Scotland some years ago. Do you know what is the break-even point? What is the amortization time for an investor like us when we get our money back we put in?
Yes, I do not know that. Gunnar, do you know that? You know, the problem with the first Norwegian wind project, not problem, there was substantial funding from the government.
Yeah, too expensive as well.
And then that increased from 5.5 billion NOK, which is 550 million euros, to 650 to 750, and every year they increased it. So I think it was more a political will from the right party back then to say, okay, we build it and we see what it costs.
Yeah.
And just one note to what Wolfgang was saying is that the high wind turbine that we have in Norway, it's an off-grid connection. So meaning that this is for decarbonization of oil and gas assets. So the LCOE is not applicable to off-grid projects. The LCOE is only applying to grid connections. When you have off-grid connections are taking into account other things like fuel consumption, CO2 taxes, maintenance, and so on. And therefore, you can get the return on investment out of it. In the afternoon, I will show one case of these studies that we have done for off-grid connections.
So it makes clear we need a prototype project. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? One last one, perhaps, and then we have to stop. Yeah, please.
Hi, Elliot, Floatmast. In terms of the Greek industry, how diverse and how competent is Greece to develop a Greek solution without having, and what parts actually will have to be imported to develop a Greek an offshore wind park in Greece?
Will you take it?
Can you please repeat it?
Sure. So how diverse and how competent is Greek industry to be able to build an offshore wind park with, and what parts or what components will need to be imported?
As I have described before in the presentation, there are already many points that have and are delivering directly in offshore wind, like steel components, like electrical components from Hellenic cables, like installations from Hellenic companies that they have and they are working offshore already and they are making the installation. So there is already the base for a huge combination. Something that we must import and probably will not do it never in Greece, it's the blades. It's something very big, it's something very extraordinary. It needs too much time and it's something that doesn't make any sense. It's something that we're going to import. But the whole automation with some companies from abroad, that they have already the experience and they can assist how we can proceed, how we can make the combination, the synergies, in order that the one unit can come off the port and tug off on the right position directly. Yes, I think it is possible.
I think what we will have to import is the rotor nacelle assembly, for sure, and substations and things like that, controllers, things like that.
Thank you.
Electrical.
Okay, yeah, the electrical equipment. Okay, so thank you very much for your presence here.